Ladies and gentlemen, we are all here today representing Great Britain at the United Nations in New York. Today, hundreds of women, children, infants and men, and indeed young soldiers and people in Israel were killed, both in the Gaza Strip and in Israel. On July 17th, Israel invaded and had to carry out a major incursion into the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip, as we know, is run by Hamas, which is now a known global terrorist organization. Israel was forced to make such a decision because of thousands of rockets being fired into Israel, totally unprovoked, and the construction of hundreds of tunnels by Hamas in the Gaza Strip, in the homes and houses of the 1.5 million people that lived there. Hamas has used its own population to meet its own ends, and with those powerful images being beamed across the world, billions of dollars flow into their coffers, and they are not now just using that money for their wealth, for their own personal use, and to live in opulence in 7-star hotels in Qatar and Oman. But they are also now distributing that money to other terrorist organizations in the world. This situation is completely untenable and has to stop. And somebody here has to draw a line. If we look into the past history of the Palestinians, we know that for 4 decades, Yasser Arafat was their leader. An equally very corrupt man who siphoned off billions for his own family and kept his own family living in opulence in Paris for those 4 decades. After his death, Mahmoud Abbas took over, a moderate, a peacemaker. None of us could really believe our luck. Following a general election in 2006, Hamas actually won those elections. But the global community took a step back and saw it as a possible opportunity to bring Hamas to the table to talk. The global community formed a powerful organization known as the Quartet, which consisted of the United States, the European Union, the United Nations and Russia. The idea was that if Hamas only met 3 commitments, the first being the recognition of the State of Israel, the second being the cessation of all violence, and the third being the recognition and keeping all previous agreements. Hamas rejected this outright. They then went on to create a civil war which lasted many months in the Gaza Strip in particular, and they purged the Gaza Strip of all Palestinians that they thought would not be Hamas and would not be neutral. So they took the voice from their own population. Those people were forced to flee to the West Bank, including Mahmoud Abbas. That is where Israel and Palestine are today. Absolutely nowhere, after all these decades later. Because it is easier to have those powerful images beaming in across the world, totally uncensored, and raise billions every day and keep a few people happy, rather than improve the lives of the millions of Palestinians who have been displaced in Jordan and Egypt. But also, at a recent press conference, finally, Prime Minister Netanyahu pointed out that hundreds of thousands of tons of cement was sent indeed to Gaza to improve housing, to improve medical facilities, hospitals and schools and infrastructure. And what did Hamas do with this cement? They bored tunnels and used children to dig those tunnels. So why are we here today? We are here today to implore the United Nations to convene an emergency meeting, to put these principles put forward by the Quartet again to Hamas, to throw down the gauntlet to them, and furthermore to table a motion to bring these people, the current leadership, before The Hague to try them for war crimes against their own people. But more importantly, or as importantly, to seize and freeze all the assets of Hamas. Hopefully this evening, the Security Council will debate this issue and pass a resolution tomorrow. It will give light at the end of what has been a very dark tunnel for many decades for millions of Palestinians on a global basis. Thank you.